I am so excited about today's bonus episode. So, we're going to dive into the women's conference that I attended the first week in October. I want to share just a little quick bonus episode on that. So, stay tuned if you're a Christian woman who just really wants to be in community of like-minded women, then this episode is for you. Hey friend, welcome to the Milk and Honey with Lemon podcast. Do you want financial freedom and to step into your God-given leadership? Do you find yourself up late at night Googling leadership, the Proverbs 31 woman, and motherhood and business? Do you wake up with these big, ambitious goals only to feel stressed about who God has called you to be when your kiddos interrupt your time with the Lord and you feel disconnected from God again? Hey, I'm Lemon. I too was a woman who knew she was meant for more, and I felt so frustrated and disconnected, and I just wished I could step fully into my purpose. I wanted to really have this deep heart connection with God and figure out who I was in Him as a daughter. But I kept telling myself, I don't have a place in leadership, and this is all I was ever meant for. I can just worry about me later. Until I found out how to become this ultimate Proverbs 31 woman through leadership development. In this podcast, you're going to find financial freedom, leadership growth, and motivation so that you'll be able to do all the things God has called you to do with ease. Now, before we dive into this bonus episode, I want to let you know to go check out the show notes where you can grab my marketplace ministry checklist for free. And so if you're sitting here thinking, Lemon, I want to run a business too. I want to run a business with God at the center. Then this checklist is for you. It's totally free. So head to the show notes to check it out. All right. Welcome back to the Milk and Honey podcast. I'm your host, Lemon Price, and I'm excited because we're doing a little bonus episode. Won't be as long as our normal episodes, but I thought this was important to cover. So the first week in October, so only a few weeks ago, boarded a plane to San Diego for my company's annual conference. This is only our second conference. We just launched last September, so we're barely a year old, which is really exciting. And there's been so much growth, and I had an incredible time last year. Do not get me wrong. It was absolutely incredible. It was a smaller group of women, and the connection was really intimate and deep and special. This year, though, blew me away. So I wanted to share some highlights from that trip and just talk about what it did for me and my leadership, because it is a game changer. So I arrived on Tuesday because I was actually getting my speaker certification. So you've probably heard of the TED Talks. However, myself and many other Christians that I know have actually been rejected from TED Talks because of our faith. And we are not welcome on the TEDx stage because of our faith. And so with that in mind, the company that I'm with saw fit to announce their own speaker certification. And you've probably heard of being a John Maxwell certified speaker and all of those things. To be a John Maxwell speaker, it is easily $6,000. To get this speaker certification, it was $2,000. And it was all the training was included with my membership. The only thing I paid for was to actually have my speaker reel professionally recorded and edited, which is amazing. I went on Tuesday and there was 22 of us, I want to say, who got the certification. So Tuesday was dress rehearsal. And let me tell you, that experience alone was worth the investment in me going. We had incredible coaches like Molly Trotter Gomez, who's been on the show, Michelle Schaefer, who has been on the show, Lisa Vanderkwak, who's been on the show, and Shay Bynes, who will be on the show. Her and I had a really great conversation. And you got to sit and listen to the feedback everybody was getting to improve your own signature talk. And it wasn't required. That's the beautiful thing. You could come, give your 10-minute talk, get 5 minutes worth of feedback, and then leave if you wanted to. And nobody did. Nobody did. We all stayed, listened to each other's messages, and then took in the feedback for ourselves. And so it was an incredible experience. I landed at about 11:15 in the morning, and I was on stage by 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So there was a very short window between arriving, checking in, and getting on stage. Wednesday, we had the actual certification. That's when they were filming everything. And I got pretty tough news Wednesday about 5 minutes before I was due to be on stage. And I just lost it. I was crying. I was a big puddle of a mess talking to my girlfriends, and I was like, it's going to be fine. I'm going to be fine. And Michelle Schaefer and I were very close. I love her dearly. She knows everything going on in my life. And she saw me crying and she pulled me off to the corner and she said, what do you want to do? Do you want to go later? What do you want to do? And I said, and I thought about it. I could have gone later. I absolutely could have gone later, but I thought about it and I said to myself, the situation is not going to change an hour from now. It's not going to change 5 hours from now. It's just not going to change. And it felt like a real test of leadership and who it is that God called me to be. Because here I was in this moment with devastating news. I was given an out if I wanted it, but I didn't take it because I didn't feel that was honoring to God and the message that he had given me. And so I wiped my tears literally in the corner and then jumped on stage and gave probably one of my best talks I've ever given in my life. And people loved it. And then we had graduation afterward. And let me tell you too, the transformation between Tuesday and Wednesday for every single speaker was night and day. You would have never known that nobody here was a professional speaker on a regular basis. And so we did that on Wednesday. We had graduation. It was beautiful. We cried a lot too. So if you come into this community, just be prepared to cry. We cry all the time. And so then Thursday, we got to make bags for the homeless. I met this incredible woman, Julia. I'm going to get her on the podcast too. And her mission and her heart to serve the homeless community in San Diego. It's beautiful. So we got to do that and pray over those bags before they went out. And then I thought this was really special. We did a Jericho walk around the hotel and just prayed for the event and prayed for the women coming and prayed for the things that we needed and the breakthroughs that needed to happen. And we walked around the building 7 times silently in prayer. And it was just an incredible experience. Like you felt the energy shift on lap 7. As we were rounding the corner to finish lap 7, I was like, okay, God, like I feel you here. And I had really raw and honest conversation with God. And it was so special. It was so special to have that conversation. So then Thursday night, we had incredible worship, and what a small world. Somebody on my team, it was actually her sister-in-law who did the worship, and it was incredible, and she's amazing, and I got to spend 3 days with her. And Friday, I know I'm like zooming through this so fast. Friday, I spoke again on stage twice, one about marketing, because that's my background. So I actually have a master's in marketing. I've been in marketing for a decade plus. And so I got to get on stage and share about marketing. And that even was a completely different talk than the one I gave on Wednesday. My energy was different. My confidence was different. And what I learned, and it's really interesting because the room was 10 times the size. The amount of people in the room was 10 times the size as the one on Wednesday. And after I got done that talk, I realized, and I saw the confidence, I realized that God intended for me to have a bigger audience. God intended for me to speak to many. Yes, I can be very effective in intimate settings, and I'm going to talk about that in a minute. But God meant for me to have a bigger stage and to share his voice and his message with a larger audience. And that's where I tend to thrive. And so it was a really special experience for me to just have that sort of confirmation from the Lord. And so Friday night, and this I think is the most special part of the whole experience. So Friday afternoon, Michelle Schaefer said, I feel like somebody here wants to get baptized. And we had 2 pastors with us. And so I was like, yeah, I would love to do that. That's a whole other podcast episode I can get into on why I felt like I needed to be baptized. And so I said, yeah, I want it. Yeah. And so there was only like 5 or 6 of us that said yes, out of 150 or so people in the room. There was more online. And so I'm like, yeah, absolutely. I want to do that. And so I go, I change, I get up to the hotel pool, and it was incredible. It's absolutely incredible. I am sitting there in the water, and all of a sudden I hear Molly Trotter Gomez screaming, I need to get in with her. And then I hear Ferris screaming, she needs to get in with her too. And so I hear Splash, my two of my closest friends, they jump in with me. I had the 4 founders there, and I'm very close to every single one of them. And so that was a really special experience to have for myself. But what made it even more special is that it wasn't 5 or 6 of us who originally said yes who were baptized. It was 30. And here's to me, I think even the better part of this whole situation. So we're singing worship music around the pool as women are being baptized, and it was a really special experience. But then there's a woman who was there, and she had just come out of Islam only 2 weeks prior. And her husband had been saying to her a few days before we got to that hotel, you need to be baptized, you need to be baptized, you need to be baptized. And she'd made that decision, she wanted to do it. And so when she saw what we were doing, the Holy Spirit moved in her so deeply that she went, she changed her clothes, came back down and was baptized. So here was this random woman that wasn't random at all, right? God knew this was going to happen. And so she just happened to be at that hotel in San Diego, had just given her life to Christ in a private setting. And then she made this beautiful public declaration. And it was so special. We all were crying with her. And it was just a confirmation on what it is that we do here. It was confirmation on being the hands and feet of Christ. It was confirmation that what we're doing matters. And it's not always about making the money is cool and it's great that I can provide. But what's cooler is that I've transformed and 30 other women have transformed so much that they wanted to make this public declaration of their faith. And that inspired another woman to do the same who wasn't even a part of what we were doing. That to me is real kingdom impact. That to me is the whole point of what we do here at Girl Power Alliance. And it was so special. And we had dinner. I had dinner with my team and we were supposed to go out to dinner. By the time baptisms were done, it was so late. I'm like, please just come to my room, get whatever you want to get from DoorDash or whatever. Come to my room. And we just sat in my room and had a really intimate conversation. And then Saturday was the gala and we trained again all day Saturday. And then Saturday night we had our gala and our awards, and basically it's grown up prom, and it was beautiful. And I just love doing that. And something that is really funny because people don't like it when they see it on social media, but when you're there doing it in person, it means something different. We are always presented with a tiara. And that tiara is to remind you that you have a seat at the royal table and that you are the daughter of a king. And so I have my one from last year. I have a new one this year. It's beautiful. It's rose gold. I love it. I'm obsessed. And it's so great for when I'm having these doubts about the things that God has called me to do and asked me to do. I can stick that on and remind myself of who I am and what my actual identity is. That is the short version of everything that happened. It was an incredibly transformational experience. It was an incredible spiritual experience. But then I also learned a lot business-wise, and I learned, I had a deep connection with God and what it is that God wants me to do for the next 12 months. And so I say to you, if you're like, I could use this, I could use a community like this, I could use something like this, then I would encourage you to, again, grab that Marketplace Ministry checklist. It also comes with a 7-day devotional. Head to the show notes to get it. And you're going to be glad that you did, because I can promise you it's probably the thing that you've been looking for. This community is the thing you're looking for. And when you grab it, I'll be able to text you, and I'll text you right off my cell. We can text, you can email me, whatever you're comfortable with. But I just think this is going to be such a game changer for you as you step into the thing that God has called you to do. Hey friend, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If so, would you take 30 seconds and share this episode with a friend who may be needing a community of believers to help support her in her journey to being a leader? And also, please just be sure to leave a review. It really lights me up to know that this podcast is helping you. So I'm actually going to hop off. I'm recording this right before I actually go train with this community. And so I will meet you back here on Monday for another episode. Bye, friend.